Hi everybody, I'm back on the channel. Now I'm going to take you through my impressions of the CAT slot 3 paper, and based on the slot 3 paper and my discussions about the first slot, I've not had time to discuss much about the second slot, and I hope you are able to hear me and hear me loud and clear. Just let me know in case मेरी आवाज़ तुम्हारे पास आ रही है कि नहीं, right? I mean, वहाँ से ऑन है ना बिजली वो साउंड. तो coming back, so we are talking about the slot 3 paper first. What are my impressions? What are the cutoffs? What are the difficulty level, etc. So let's go section wise. I think verbal, you know the pattern. It was 24 questions, 4 into 4 reading comprehensions, summary, odd man out, and parajumble. So no surprises there in terms of this. 16 plus 8 tha ye. I would predict a small, I mean, in terms of the difficulty level, I think the verbal part was slightly easier than, at least the slot 3 verbal part was slightly easier than what I could see in some slots of the CAT 20 paper. So the verbal was slightly easier. It was easier to get the parajumbles in place, for example, easier to spot the summaries, for example, and the RCs retained the nature of very inferential questions. I think in my slot, one RC was very difficult to read. The other 3 RCs, I mean, it of course depends on how comfortable with you are with various kinds of reading. So for somebody who's comfortable with readings and has created that mental awareness of so many topics, etc., for him or her, the topics would be easy, but a general student, I think 2 topics would have been would have been around where he would be able to read, and 2 topics would have been some things that he might not have been able to read, so or would have difficulty in reading. And then the questions were all inferential, like standard. That's become a standard this thing. So my impression of the verbal aspect, the verbal was almost equally difficult as last year. Maybe the passage which was first slot, I've heard that there were 2 very tough passages, so maybe it was slightly more difficult to score in the first slot. But when we come about cutoff scores, see cutoff scores etc. or cutoff predictions towards the end of the video करूँगा. अभी पहले let's focus on the DILR. Yeah, DILR was quite tough. There were 2 sets of DILR was 4646, right? In my slot, the second 6 questions set, and the slot was 6. I mean, at least on my screen it was 6-4 and then 6-4. So I looked at the first 3. I decided that I'll pick up this looked like it was a games and tournament set on javelins, and I was able to work it through halfway. But the degree of control was not there because there are too many variables to be considered and too many aspects to be taken care of inside that. So this was a tough set. I mean, it is doable, 15-17 minutes लेकिन लगेगा किसी को भी करने में, I guess. So but the first 6 questions, which was a kind of a selection process of questions kind of set, so that was quite controllable. I mean, anybody would, again, doable in around 14-15 minutes, not a 8-minute thing. And since that brought it down to 4 sets, so you had on an average 10 minutes per set. You did not need to do 8 minutes per set kind of thing, even for somebody trying to solve everything. But I don't think anybody would have been able to solve all. I think the best case would have been 3 set किया होगा लोगों ने. Just I was able to do 3 sets, so I got this done. And this was quite simple. This was a blitz set, one blitz set opportunity. It was a DI set based on bar graphs. So it was a blitz set opportunity. Specifically, if your calculations are good, you could do this pretty quickly. So those 10 questions you had control of, and the remaining 10 questions you did not have control of. The other 4 question set was more a maths question than a DI question, because it was talking about testing liquids for purity, etc. And the questions were very twisted inside that. The structure was easy to understand, but the questions were quite twisted in that. So the degree of control in this set that students would have had, and the degree of control in this set the students would have been difficult to this thing. These 2 sets were doable. So if somebody got these 2 sets and got through them, तो 10 questions तो attempt होंगे उसके, लेकिन 10 से 15 attempt ले जाना was quite difficult compared to last year. Last year के DILR section में out of the 5 sets that were there, it was very possible that you could do at least 12 to 16 attempts. It was quite possible कि 4 sets तुम तीन set करना तो possible था. So there's a definitely a downer to the number of marks at which cutoffs is going to happen in the DILR section according to me. Quantz की जहाँ बात करो तो Quantz of course was dominated by arithmetic dominance. That's the theme nowadays. You have questions on interest, and you've got questions on time, speed, distance, and you've got questions on averages. So quant dominance was quite arithmetic, but there was a sprinkling of geometry mensuration, algebra, number systems, permutation combination. सबका sprinkling था block 1. Permutation combination का भी एक question था मेरे slot में. So the fact that you had 22 questions in 42 minutes means that they restored the speed you required for 34 questions in 60 minutes. So the speed was restored at 22 questions in 40 minutes, and I think the top guys here would have solved between 18 to 20 questions. The people who would be at the 99.9 100 percentile level, but 13 to 15, because there was every second third question was actually a speed breaker. There were enough speed breakers, at least 7-8 speed breakers out of the 22 questions in the quant section inside this. So what is my assessment of the number of the score? So I think the 99 percentile, because DILR is going to have a drag. Although last year भी DILR जब निकले थे लोग तो people were still cursing the DILR paper similarly, but I thought that the sets, at least the sets I saw in my slot, were slightly on the tougher side compared to the sets that were there in last year's paper. Right? No conventional reasoning question कि ये 6 लोग 6 position में बैठे हुए हैं, या फिर no conventional matching puzzle. The normally what used to happen last year paper देखो, every slot में 1-2 puzzle ज़रूर था, तो वो puzzle फिर एक set theory का question था, तो वो puzzle और set theory का question very doable था. Right? You just had to obey instructions there. यहाँ पे obeying instructions, the 6 question one that I did, the first one, it was a lot of self-generated thinking inside that. Although it was controllable for somebody who was smart enough to see what is happening. The javelin throw question, the games and tournaments question of 6 questions, was again something where you had a lot of self-generated thinking outside the obeying instructions part. Unfortunately for me, I was not able to go to those questions because I left that set halfway, and maybe I was able to draw half the table. So maybe if I had seen all the 6 questions, I could have been able to mark 3 questions there, but I ended up with only 12 attempts. And the other one, the third one, the third set of 4 questions, which was more a Quantz question on mixtures and alligation, which had and the options in most of the questions were theta there, so you had no clue about whether you are talking about it was talking about how many times you need to test a certain mixture, minimum how many times you need to test a certain mixture to identify the impurity, etc. So it had quite a bit of twists and turns inside it. So controlling that question was difficult. So given the fact that let's assume that verbal is going to be flat, mostly flat in terms of its sectional cutoffs and in terms of how much it allows people to score. There's a factor that you need to consider. Now my cutoff prediction, 99 percentile prediction, comes on the basis of these factors. So it's not out of the blue कि मेरे को लगा कि इतना होगा. So what are those factors on which I'm deciding these? And what is the number that I'll put up here, and what is the number I'll put up here? Let's just look at that. Last year's numbers at 99 percentile was around 100 marks, which I had predicted very, very clearly, although I had not given the exam last year. But based on these factors, I predicted very almost accurately. And 60 marks के आसपास, 58-60 marks में 90 percentile था in last year's exam. So if I come back to this year's paper, verbal almost flat, but there's a downer in the verbal section that there are 2 questions less. Last year when you did the 4 RCs, you got 18 marks out of it, 18 questions out of it. This year you did the 4 RCs, you got only 16 questions out of it. So that is going to be a downer or a drag on the scoring in the RC in the VRC section. So the 99 percentile in VA last year was at around 42 marks, if I'm not mistaken. I remember the 80 percentile for VA was around 22 marks last year, if I remember correctly, the scorecards I had seen. And the 90 percentile would have been somewhere in between, maybe around 28, 30 last year. So I would think that this will drop. This will drop. The main factor of the drop is not that this paper was tougher than last year. It was not. I don't think it was. The option closeness, etc. That I got a feeling. I mean, that's the gut feel that I got. At least in my slot was not more than what last year was. So the drag down has to be the 2 questions less, right? Last year you could solve an RC passage with 5 questions and get 15 marks out of it. This year you got hold of an RC passage, you'll only get 12 marks out of it. So some people who were solving more RCs or solved the 5 question RCs this year only at 4 questions there. So they're losing 3 marks there. So I think there'll be a slight down, not a very large drag on the VRC scores. So maybe around 40 would be a good value to have at a 99 percentile for verbal. And these numbers will also drop by a couple of marks more or less. So you can say 26. I don't remember this number exactly. उसको देख लेना, उससे जो भी है 2 मार्क कम रहेगा इस साल का. And I think 20 marks here also. This number I remember. So 22 पे 80 percentile था. Verbal में approximately 7 questions पे. So you will get around 20. This will drop down to 20 in today's this thing. This is the verbal cutoffs. What about DLR? I think I would predict a 99 percentile this year at somewhere between around 25 marks. Somewhere around 25 marks. Maybe there could be a reason why it can drop down to 22 to 25. It could go up a little bit to 27, but the median value will be around 25. So 8 questions पे 99 percentile आना चाहिए according to me. So this is what I would think. I think last year it was at around इसी range में था. So I don't think it's changing much. थोड़ा again for the factor. I mean it was to get 25 marks you had to control 2 sets. Last year you had to control 3 sets there because you had 4 questions के 5 sets. So in that sense, you had what? Last year it was 26, 24, 26. तो 6 questions के 2 सेट थे. तो वो एक फैक्टर, अगेन फैक्टर्स कंसिडर अगर करें तो वो एक फैक्टर है लास्ट ईयर का कि एक 6 क्वेश्चन का सेट अगर निकाल लो तो 18 मार्क मिल रहे हैं. यहाँ पे तुमको मिल रहे हैं 18 मार्क्स, बट द 6 क्वेश्चन सेट्स वर नॉट सो कंट्रोलेबल एज लास्ट ईयर्स क्वेश्चंस. So you had to do lot more to get there. So you would not. I mean, it was last year. For example, the Venn diagram, 4 circle Venn diagram situation for 4 questions was just obeying instructions. You obeyed the instructions, you would get the answer. A lot of the other sets that I did for you, they were just obeying instructions, right? उस तरह के sitter sets एक था या 1.5 था, but it was not there. So maybe I'll think that there's a dip in the DLR section also. So last year I frankly don't remember what it was at 99 last year. तो जो भी था 99 उसे I would think I'll put it in the comments में थोड़ा check करना पड़ेगा. I didn't get time to check before I came live. Check करके मैं तुम लोगों को बता दूंगा. तो maybe a couple of marks down from there. So there's a drag down in the DLR scores also. And Quantz, because of the general feedback about the Quantz, although with my speed of solving I could make out a lot of shortcuts that I use which got me through some questions in 20-30 seconds by just guesstimating the values and by putting my numerical skills into place. But a lot of people will not have to. A lot of people, specifically those who are conventional solvers, will not be able to do that. And the other factor is that a lot of the questions reminded you of the CAT 18 paper in terms of their twists and turns inside them. So if you were able to catch that specific logic, only then you would get it. So CAT 18 had that process. CAT 19, 20 के questions अगर देखोगे तो इस लॉजिक से नहीं बन रहा है तो इससे बन जाएगा, इससे नहीं बन रहा है तो इससे बन जाएगा. There would be multiple ways of doing a question. But CAT 18, why it was tough was because there were around, out of 34 questions, there were 1/3 the paper was questions which would break your speed, and you had only one way of solving it. If you didn't get that, you would not get the answer. So that changed, that came back this year. So there's a drag down, according to me there's a drag down in Quantz also, and the other factor of the drag down is the number of questions have dropped. So DILR में भी difficulty level का drag down तो है ही, number of questions 24 से 20 हो गए. So obviously there's a drag down on the scores. When you reduce choice, there's a natural drag down that's going to happen on scores. And quantitative aptitude also, difficulty level is dragging it down. QA I think 42 marks पे last year 99 percentile था. The difficulty level is going to drag it down, and the availability of less questions is also going to drag it down. So both these are going to drag it down, the difficulty level as well as the availability of less questions. So given these two, I would think that the 99 percentile value for QA will have the maximum drop down. I thought that the difficulty level, the perceived difficulty level in RC was similar. VA I found slightly easier in my slot, so I cannot. I'm putting that the drag down of score is only because of one factor, that number of questions is slightly less. यहाँ पे or the other factor was key, and those less questions were happening because your RC passes had 2 RC passes, 5 questions each. Last year was replaced with 2 RC passes, 4 questions each. So that's what is dragging down the VA a little bit. But Quantz I think will drag down a little bit more in terms of its 99 percentile value. So I think Quantz, I might predict a 4-5 mark drop down on 99. So if 42 was giving you 99 in CAT 20, I would think it would be around 37-38. 37-38 would be a good score. Anybody who solved 12-13 questions would be a good score. Also based on some discussions with some top students of ours who have also talked about the same thing, that they were not able to, people not able to go 20 attempt कर रहे हैं, 21 attempt कर रहे हैं, 22 attempt कर रहे हैं. It was simply not possible to get there in this. So all three are dragging down. So in that sense, the big numbers, I think, according to me, my estimate of the 99 percentile value is going to be there's a drag down on this and a drag down on this. And I would predict maybe a 10 mark drag down on this. Also, it's possible. So my range for 99 percentile will be 90 to 95 marks this year, and my range for 90 percentile will be around 55 marks. 10% drop in this and 10% drop in this, approximately overall. Because again, a lot of people, 2 section control कर लिए, 1 नहीं कर पाए, 1 section control कर लिए, 2 नहीं कर पाए, तो वो factors भी आने वाले हैं. And that would be my prediction. 95 पे तो safe 99 है, 90 marks पे भी 99 percentile शायद बन सकता है. It can happen. 99 percentile or 90 percentile around 55 marks के range में आ जाएगा. So there's a drop of around this thing. So you can decide the spectrum between 55 marks to 95 or 55 to 90 for your 95 percentiles and your 97 percentiles, etc. Typically from 99 percentile, 96 percentile is around 25% less. So 96 percentile ka prediction will be around 72-75 for me. And from 99 percentile to 90 percentile is normally a 60% score. ये इसका 60% के आसपास स्कोर ये मैप हो रहा है. और 99.8 परसेंटाइल जो होता है वो 99 के 15 to 20% ऊपर रहता है. तो अगर ये 95 में 100 मार्क्स 99 परसेंटाइल आ रहा है, 99 परसेंटाइल आ रहा है, या इफ 95 में 99 परसेंटाइल आ रहा है तो add 20% marks more. So 110, 114 will be 110 to 114 will be like the 120 of last year. So the 99.7, 99.8 aspirants will, if you're scoring that 110 plus, you'll get a score which should be what 120 got you last year. So that's my assessment. I think to summarize, difficulty level increase, in DILR, definitely difficulty level increase. No freebies available. As I said, even the sets that were controllable, there was just one set which was a freebie, but that too required very high level of calculations to do it quickly. Otherwise, you would take 12, 13, 14 minutes to do that one also. The on-screen calculator is useless for these things, as you know. So difficulty level in DILR more than last year. Difficulty level in verbal RC equal, verbal up, difficulty level easier, the difficulty level down, but the number of questions dragged down is kind of equating. Verbal में ज़्यादा score कर रहे हो because verbal थोड़ा easier है RC से, लेकिन तुम्हारे पास questions ही नहीं available हैं, 26 से 24 हो गया. So that's kind of equating your VRC scores. So VRC में अगर 99% dip करेगा तो 2 marks से dip करेगा, 2-3 marks से dip करेगा. Of course, these are not these are guesstimates based on experience and based on structural thinking to the problem involved, right? The real values will only come when 2 lakh people का score sheet check होगा, and then you decide कि what percentile scores who's getting, right? And so Quantz dragging you down, dragging the percentiles down, DILR dragging percentiles down, verbal a small downer. Given all these 3 things, you are essentially then looking at a 10 mark drop down, 5 to 10 mark drop down at the 99 percentile level. So let's see whether I jackpot with this prediction. But I think for all of you, I'll come up with a short. I've got a different message and I'll come up with a short in the night about fighting back in life and why it is so important. And the winners are not those who make it big the first time. The winners are those who fall and then rise again, and you rise like the phoenix. And if you can become that, nobody can stop you in life, and that should be your agenda. Whether you've had a disappointing day or a great day or a so-so day, just get rid of it. It's the past. Live for the moments that are going to happen from now, starting now, as soon as I wind up. Thank you so much. I'll see you. Tomorrow again with something new. We might start focusing on that and discussing other things, or we might have an Ask Me Anything session. And also I'll come up with a short tonight. Chalo, bye-bye everybody. All the best. God bless all of you. And if it's been disappointing, get over the disappointment. Always remember that MBA is not a getting out of college course. So you can get into MBA even at 30. Maybe you might not do a regular MBA, you might do an executive MBA then. But you can do an MBA from a top B school and transform your career anytime from the age of 22, 23, 21, 22 to 34, 35. So that 12, 13 year period is available for you, where you can actually take this jump that the MBA gives you at any point of time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye everybody. See you.